Hello, my name is Robbie Walsh, and I'm the writer director of the feature film The Letters, and this is the Film Craziest Show.
Cool. And I'm Daniel, the host of the Filmcraziest Show. It's great to have you here, Robbie.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Now, I'd love to do like a little bit of background about the letters, and just the backdrop of the film is the cervical check scandal in Ireland. So this wasn't something I was familiar with. So would you just mind talking a bit about that and what that is?
Yeah, you're not the first person to kind of say this to me. That you're not familiar with it. What it is there were a, a couple of hundred women that we know of now. For many years, were getting their smear tests or their cervical tests, to make sure that they were cancer free. And for years, they were being told they were getting the results back saying that they were healthy and fit and okay. Um, when all along they weren't. And it progressed to the point where a lot of these women who knew they weren't well and healthy were then contacted and told, "Oh, you need to get tested again," or they were just simply told, "You're not well. We were mistaken. Um, you do in fact have late stage cervical cancer, or you were showing signs of late stage cervical cancer." Um, and kind of just told a lot were told to just kind of get their affairs in order. Many they were kind of forced to tell this, so they knew, like the labs that were testing the women knew that the results were inaccurate, and some of the people in Ireland, and this is where I have to be kind of careful. Some of the people in Ireland withheld that information and told the women that they were healthy when they in fact knew they weren't. And it was through the work of people like Vicky Phelan, Lorraine Walsh, Sharon Hogan, Emma McMahona, who brought all this to light. It kind of exposed it to the public.
Okay. And when
That's
did you
about that's about as much as I can kind of say and sum it up to. I hate trying to generalize it because it's such a horrible subject. But the thing
Sure.
is that the film is inspired by it, and it's inspired by true events, but it is a fictional piece. So.
Okay. So when did you first hear about that, and what inspired you to make a film like The Letters?
It was like everyone else. It was sort of kind of bit by, well, I can't say everyone else. For me, it was those bits of it being dripped into the public consciousness. And eventually, it's one of those things where your ears kind of prick up and say, well, hold on a second, what exactly happened here? And then the more you looked into it, the more, I want to say angry, but it was more horrifying. It was more because when you look into this subject, the depth of, I don't want to say cover up, but the depth of trying to cover the tracks of what happened, um, is really scary, and how far it kind of went and may go, because there's so many cases that are still active right now, and so much more information that is starting slowly coming to light. That in the early days, that when I start hearing about it, I start thinking about my family members coming in and saying to me, "We don't have much time left. That everything I done to stay healthy and stay right and do everything right, it was for now, because they didn't tell me, and now they're telling me I'm not healthy and I don't have much longer to go."
Okay.
And for me, that's I didn't really know what to do, and I, if you see my past work, I do try to make socially conscious films, and there was one image in my mind wouldn't leave me, and I knew I had to go and make this, and rather than hold a sign up and be ignored, I had to try and make something that would reach sort of a
Okay.
wider audience.
So
Hopefully, people see it's coming from a good place, and it seems to be working.
Okay. And already, like, obviously, I hadn't heard of this. So I don't know if it reached our side of the pond in North America. So to already know about it and be having a conversation with someone on the other side of the world, I think that's already, your film's already doing its job there.
Yeah, well, like we had said before we started here, this has been there's been a few people now from Canada has reached out to me and I spoke with, and a few people from America and the UK, and have really kind of paid attention to it and asked about it, and start looking into it. Like, I would encourage you to look into it yourself rather than take what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you, Google it and look into it. You know,
Sure. Okay. Now,
I don't
this,
want I don't want to I don't want to mansplain it, so to speak.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, this is a fictional take, but I'd be curious if what the research you had to do into it was, and just were you able to talk with any of the women affected by the scandal?
I did speak with some of the women leading up to it. They wanted to remain anonymous. Again, it's
Sure.
still a big legal issue at the moment, um, which is why it's inspired by true events and not um, a true story. It's inspired by the events, some
Okay.
events that women have spoke to me about. But again, kind of hands are tied on that one.
Sure. No, fair enough. Is it challenge? I'll stop. I'm almost done asking questions that might get you in trouble. But is it challenging making a film about like events that are still ongoing?
um, a little bit. I found it was in post production, and when the film was announced, without anybody on the film actually knowing, somebody had announced the film was being released in getting a limited release into cinemas in Ireland, and that's when I kind of, in a way, I was a little bit angry about that, but in a way, it turned out to be a bit of a blessing in disguise because we start being contacted by people then about it and being asked, what the film was about and why it was about this, and it kind of gave us a little bit more time. We had to put disclaimers in at the start of the film, and then we had to put um, kind of a charity number at the end of the film for anybody who might be affected from the various issues we address in the film. Um, that was when it became a little bit challenging. The whole film, like there's like the film is like, again, the backdrop is the cervical check scandal, but when it comes to the scenes and stories, there are elements of each story and each certain scenes that would draw on the actors and my own personal experience, which would be just in life in general. As
Okay.
you may know, like, dealing like, I've little brothers, people with kids, and the story with a single mom and four kids, where anyone who has kids or has dealt with kids would say, yeah, I can identify with that. Uh, but just getting back to your previous question, when I was making the film, I did speak with a lot of campaigners. I did speak with victims, and I did speak with survivors. But again, a lot of them stayed off the record. But since the film has come out, we have were contacted by even more people who, again, don't want to be named,
Sure.
and to share their stories and their experiences with what happened. And it's bloody rough to hear what they say. It's very, very hard, and I can only imagine what they still go through. And the families.
Now, that just must be a draining experience, though. Kind of just not not. I hope that doesn't sound bad, but just it sounds like so emotional that just listening to their stories, right, and what they've gone through.
Yeah, yeah. After the fact, when we'd made the film, when people had reached out and spoke to us, it's and I don't want to make this about like me, my bloody feelings, because I felt a little bit hopeless. And again, I can only imagine how these people felt, because
Sure.
we can, for someone like a filmmaker and the actor can remove themselves a little bit because they take the role on and they perform the scenes and they delve into the stories. And you have to kind of, when you're directing the scenes, because I don't want to speak on behalf of the actors. So when you're directing the scenes, you kind of remove yourself from it and become a little bit desensitized because you have a job to do. And then when you're watching the finished product, you're getting back in, you're getting dragged into being emotionally involved. But again, you can remove yourself because the picture is done. And it's only when you speak with people again after the fact you realize that there is no removal or disassociation, I suppose, from this subject for campaigners and victims and survivors and families of victims, because that's their reality 24/7, and that's what they have to deal with 24/7 until closure comes or some kind of justice comes for them. And even the characters in the film, you see that's the reality. The reality of what people lived with is, when you watch the picture, you see it. That was people's reality 24/7, 7 days a week.
Okay.
You know, as a filmmaker, you can remove yourself from that a little bit. But then when you sit and think about it, that's what we have to try and capture. That's what people had to do and live like. And that's, even now, as more cases come into public knowledge, this is how people are dealing with it, and this is how they lived.
And now you have a lot of roles on the film where you also play the minister. So I'd love to turn to that. Do you always like to give yourself roles in your films?
Well, I was an actor before I was a director or writer.
Sure.
And with this film, I think when I step in and act, it's out of necessity and budget. When I played the role in Split, I and I won't get into that. I've done the lead myself because I knew the guy I was acting opposite was my best friend, and he was sort of new out of the blocks with acting, so I knew we would bounce off each other really well.
Okay.
And what happened when I done the small part in my first film, Eden, was out of necessity. Someone didn't turn up on the day, so I was like, okay, I'll do it myself. And with the letters, we had to let a really well known Irish actor go, like just literally a day before filming, and I'd had enough, and I said, like, okay, I don't need you, go away, I'll do it myself. And I don't know if it was because of what way he was behaving, or his team, or his whoever, but I'd had enough of his garbage, and I just said, no, I'm not dealing with you anymore. This is not a film about you. It's about the leads, and you don't want to do it. That's perfectly fine. We don't need you. We don't need your name. Good luck. And that was it. I let him go.
Okay. Sometimes you have to do it, right?
And that was it. I had to step in on the day and do the role myself. And that was a challenging day of filming. Anyone who was there that day will tell you. It was the worst day of filming.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The cameramen turning up bloody 2 hours, 3 hours late. We had like I think we had like 7.5 hours to film in a very well-known county council building that were doing us a huge favor, and these guys turned up, and one of them was trying to be difficult, and then we had the problem with the guy we had to let go, and it was just but we got some great stuff. So
wow. It's funny because I had in my questions just like on the day, it must be so different from when you're usually just directing, but today you're directing and acting, and then on top of everything, that must have been, yeah, quite the day.
Well, where I was lucky is that the two women who were in that scene with me, one of them her name is Aisling O'Neill, and Aisling she has a bit of a legacy in acting in Ireland.
Oh,
She's
cool.
been acting for years, and I mean, she comes from kind of a legacy, so to speak, because her family and her relatives and were all involved in the arts in Ireland. And Aisling has been a mainstay on one of Ireland's kind of flagship TV shows. So she made it very easy because she knew what she was doing, and she would kind of guide me as an actor on the day, because we'd worked together on TV before anyway. And then of course you have Sarah Carroll, who was an absolute and utter genius when it comes to acting. So I was very lucky in that if I was forgetting lines, I would hear a little whisper. I'm saying this now, So
Okay.
I was lucky in that sense,
Okay. I liked how you played their minister though. It felt like a lot of dry humor in that scene kind of thing while also being combative. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I kind of imagined the worst in I don't want to say a man. I want to say that kind of we've all encountered that passive aggressive manipulating person. The reality TV is based around that personality. So all you have to do is
Sure.
watch an episode of the Beverly Hills Wives or something like that, and you'll see that personality in spades. And that's the type of person I think that goes into that line of work, and that causes issues like this. And that's what I really wanted to represent, that kind of passive aggressive manipulating sociopath that isn't exactly Charlie Manson, but is on the way there because they're being emboldened to get away with more and more and more. So
Yeah.
that's who he represented.
Okay. And just it's like I said, like dry humor, but it's like very much it makes you angry just being like how they're talking to her and demeaning her and like make the friend leave the room so they can gang up on her, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a well written aspect of the scene, I think.
Well, like I said, I mean, if you've been in any kind of working environment, you've encountered these people, and
Sure.
they're not exactly upper management, but they tend to wedge themselves in between the people who have great ideas and the people who you need to get the ideas to, and they just wedge themselves in right there. And it's like, keep everyone at bay. I don't want to move. I'm happy stuck here. So
Yeah. Just
sorry,
stay under the radar.
yeah, and keep everyone else below me.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've encountered. I think everyone has encountered someone like that, but you'll find that the higher up you go, and the more you encounter someone like that, they're going to gravitate people of similar nature to them, which is why I had the man and the woman, the publicist who was the woman, and the man who was the minister, and just the absolute sociopaths just picking on this woman and do not want to take any responsibility for their actions.
Yeah. There were two peas in a pod that way.
Yeah.
Now, with just the fact that the subject of the film is pretty serious, are you guys still able to have fun on set?
um I think not really. I don't
Okay.
recall. I think when we were filming with the kids, that was a bit that there were real moments of levity in between takes there. And I think even in the film, like, the kids bring as much levity as you're going to have within the film. So the
Sure.
banging of the plates, I would tell the kids to do stuff that Mary Murray, fantastic Mary Murray, wouldn't expect. I'd be like, okay, so when Mary goes over there, start doing this. And of course, then Mary would play up to it then, and in between takes, she would give her own ideas to the kids because she's an acting coach as well as a well-established actor. So
Okay.
I think the most, if there was any kind of fun that you could say was on set, would have been when the kids were there. But most of the time, it was pretty relentless, and it wasn't. There wasn't a lot of that going on set. It was a pretty serious set. At lunch we would discuss film and we would crack the odd joke. But
Sure.
Everything was always like with the actors, it was as professional, as straightforward, and boom, get the job done. And they done it.
Okay. Yeah, I ask that because I'm always kind of curious just about mood and just what goes on when the cameras are stop rolling, I guess.
Mm.
So that's interesting. Now,
Yeah, there wasn't that much, especially with Sarah Carroll's character. Sarah like rarely, I think Sarah rarely broke character.
oh, cool.
And Sarah would always be just on her own in her own world. I think during lunch we would have some discussions. But again, it was when I say trying to even think about the times we had lunch, because there was so little money making the bloody film that everything was just go go go. But Sarah rarely broke character. Sarah, it's even with Kathleen and Anne Russell, they rarely broke character. They would always kind of just be in character. When we would cut, we would be moving to a different scene. They would go in, sit in the hair and makeup chair, if you call it that, was like a living room, and they would just kind of stay in character. And I wouldn't, the camera, sound, anyone there doing kind of wardrobe or set would not go in near the actors. So I would be kind of the only one going in to speak to them, aside from hair and makeup. And even at that, I
Okay.
don't think hair and makeup got too much into it with them.
Okay. Now, Sarah plays the character called Cleona. Is that how you would say it?
Cleaner.
Cleena. Okay.
Cleaner, yeah.
Now, I found her scenes were very like almost self-analytical, just in the way that she doesn't have a lot of dialogue when she's just on her own. So I'm always curious what's like going on in her mind as she's just like doing her work. Can you like talk to like her process for just kind of just how there's not a lot of dialogue in those scenes and how she's acting in that way?
Um, Again, this is something Sarah Carroll would have to talk to you about herself.
Sure.
But I mean, when Sarah, I can only talk about Sarah as I see her as an actor. When I was originally writing the film, she was the first person I rang, because she appears in my first film, Eden.
Okay.
But I'd rang Sarah anytime I'm making a film. I'll ask Sarah to be in it, and sometimes she's available, sometimes she's not. So I rang her on this one, and I'd like to say in the nicest way that it was like, let me think about it, and she came back and was like, yeah, I think I'll do it, but it wasn't. I'd originally asked her to play the role of Sam, the single mother,
Okay.
but then the more I thought about it, the more I knew she wasn't suited to playing Sam. That I went, no, Sarah needs to play clean. And I would ring Sarah and I'd be like, look, I really need you to do this film. I can't see it being made without you. I think it'd be brilliant. You're going to be brilliant in it. She was very, very, very hesitant at first. And then we would talk more about it. And eventually she gave me a call and went, look, I'm in. Let me know when you need me. I just need to research this role some more. And of course, Sarah went and made her decisions. And we just captured her on camera. As far as our method and what she was thinking going into it, I know she researched it, mild autism and mild Asperger's and stuff like that, and
Sure.
all of that came into it. But that would be absolutely something you'd have to ask her about.
Okay. Fair
You
enough.
know, but she like I say this all the time. She does everything by doing like nothing. She can sit, and the camera just does not want to leave her. She's brilliant.
For sure. Now, can you rate the film and kind of like you focus on the three main characters at different times. So can you just talk about structuring the film that way? Because I thought that was a cool choice.
Um, it was, there's a lot that comes into it with budget as well. So I knew I wanted to tell three different stories, and I knew they had to be intertwined, but structured in the way it ended up, just it took a little bit of time, but that was literally down to how we had to film it and how we had to budget it.
Okay.
So I filmed each story over a period of 3, maybe 4 days. And then there would be a gap of like 2 or 3 weeks until we got some more money together so that we could film another story. And there would be a gap of 3 or 4 weeks. So I would film. I mean, I want to say the script was. I'd love to say, oh yeah, every word of it was what I wrote. It wasn't. I had a constructed blueprint of a scene and of scenes and scripts, and I would discuss with the actors at length um, what they would be comfortable doing, where would we go with this, and then the actors would make the decision and improvise a whole bunch, which is great because you have to give actors that kind of freedom. But the structure happened as I went along, so I knew each story would go from A, B, C to D. It was just a case of when I went and go, okay, we need to tie that in here, so we need to add this bit in there, and we need to capture this shot now, and stuff like that. And then we shot the opening during lockdown, because Ireland went into lockdown and we had to wait a little while, and then we had 24 hours notice to get a ballerina, and because we had a venue that we needed to shoot in. So the opening came, God, months after we'd shot and wrapped.
Okay. Now, why did you want that ballerina scene? Because I think it's such a cool opening for the credits.
It's a love letter to Raging Bull.
Okay.
So
okay, fair enough.
Like if you watch Raging Bull and you see the opening, it's this exquisite view of the atypical alpha male, angry, pugliest caveman. And I don't like saying toxic masculinity. It's just, I think it's just a grunt, the angry male, which would be seen as the boxer, the angry, the fighter, the pugilist.
Sure.
And if you go to the other end of the spectrum, and if we take in what the stereotypical or atypical view of the soft, delicate female woman would be the ballerina, graceful and beautiful and light and tender. And that's what it was. I wanted to do my version of what I loved about the opening in Raging Bull, which was the soft ballerina. And I did. That's what we did. My film is black and white, so I opened it in color.
Sure. It's a great choice, and I have big sin, but I haven't seen Raging Bull.
Why? What? You haven't seen Raging Bull?
So my face was like yeah, sure. Okay. Sounds good. So I'll get on it this weekend.
Your mission this evening is, Raging Bull.
Yeah, I actually have it on DVD. I actually have it on DVD, but I have so many films that I own that I still haven't watched.
Yeah. I'd cut that bit out of the. I'd cut that bit out of your podcast.
No, people can come at me. It's all right. I know Simon's going to be watching. I know if Simon's going to be watching this, he'll be like, "Well, wait, what?"
Yeah. Well, Raging Bull is one of the greatest films ever made, and I absolutely love it. So.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Was my absolute love letter to Raging Bull.
Okay, that's awesome. Now you had mentioned voice crack. You had mentioned just kids on set. Are those your kids? Because I noticed a lot of Walshes in the credits.
They're okay. So to save a lot of time on my nieces, but
okay,
my uncle Joseph is just 10 months older than me, because my mum and dad had me very young. So Joseph would be my dad's brother. So he's very close to my age, but he's got a couple of kids. But then my sister has a daughter. So I have Joseph's 2 girls in it, and I have my sister's daughter in it. So just to save a lot of time, 3 of them are my nieces. One of them then is one of the producers on the film, Andrew Lee, is his daughter is Tone, and they're all from background of acting and dancing and performance. So it just it made so much more sense to have someone there that I knew I could communicate with and they'd listen to me.
Okay, so is it fun for you, being surrounded by that much family for the film with the kids and the producers and such?
Well, you're surrounded by like, I mean, I want to say like the film, was it was good having family around me constantly, but you do need them there for support because there were issues with some people on the film, like I said with that actor, for example. But
Sure.
them that when you have like Philip McCrory would be my best mate. He produces all my work, and then I always have my brothers on hand. That I like that my uncle Joe, who would always be there, ready to support the film. So that way, then at any stage, I can just say, look, the producers don't want you doing that, or the producers don't want you here. And I'm not going to have a producer disagree with me because my brothers are my best friends. So they're going to just go,
Okay.
if I need a bad guy, I'm just going to go, here, Phil, I need you to ring this guy and just say, look, we don't need you here anymore, causing
Okay.
too many problems.
And he's usually the one that takes on that role.
It would be Phil or my brother or one of the family members. But it was a lot of the background was family. Like Phil, my mate Phil, he would have got a lot of the locations, and then my family and his family would have handled all the food, making the food. Even though we were out trying to make it and buy it ourselves, myself and Davey Gilna, our sandwich making skills were not particularly good at all. Yeah, budget was a big thing. We didn't have a huge budget, so we got help everywhere. I was always from family, and the people who kind of caused issues weren't family,
Work with family is the takeaway there, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, going back to the structure of the film and just how I just wanted to ask you talking about that, like, was that a challenge in editing? Because I feel like that might have been fun, which is how you were filming over 3 days and then a couple weeks off and then another. What was
Yeah.
that like for editing?
Oh God, it wasn't easy.
And did you edit
Um,
it?
no,
Okay.
no, it was there. So what happened was when we were going into edit, we hit the pandemic, so we had a lockdown. So I
Right.
had one editor who assembled the film, um, and a lot of the assembly was happening over Zoom. So if you can imagine me and you trying to say, okay, go back a little bit, okay, go forward a little bit. So eventually it came to a head there where it was like, look, I'm just going to take the assembly off you and I'm going to go work with another guy who I can sit with, you know?
Sure.
And that started off great and then descended into kind of very frustrating times. So then I took the edit from him and went to post production, the final post production for this facility, with 3 people over in Tala in Dublin who
Okay.
were brilliant. I mean, brilliant to work with. Tidied the whole thing up before its cinema release, and we got it out there just on time. But the edit was a slog because we were doing it during a pandemic. We were doing during lockdowns where you couldn't travel outside 5 kilometers at times. We were trying to hit deadlines for film festivals that it became a bit of a slog because there was just too many challenges with the pandemic and with lockdown. So when lockdown was lifted, I took the film and brought it to a post production house, and we got it done within a few weeks. There was still a couple of issues with an editor, but we got it done. And it looks the way it does because I brought it to that post production house.
Okay. Okay, good. Now, you talked about just kind of adapting to the budget in the way in terms of writing. Was there ever a draft, like in your draft, did you want the women to interact with each other, or was that never really the case?
That was never going to be the case. It was always going to be one character tying everyone together, which was the character of Anthony, played by John Connors. And John Connors is a phenomenal Irish actor, very well known in Ireland and the UK. And he's very kind of soft role for a man. If you see some of John's work, it's always very kind of tough, gangster, in your face, kind of intense acting. And with this one, he wanted to really play the role soft and softer. It's unfortunate we had a beautiful scene with John and Cleena, or Anthony and Cleena, that we couldn't keep in the film because we'd nothing tying the two characters together. Like I said, on the day we were filming down at the offices, John wasn't available, and the time we only had that we had allocated left to filming, we couldn't get enough of it in to tie him in with Cleana's character. But we did the best we could with that. But like that, who weaves the narrative together is the character of Anthony and John Connors, which I think he does a really good job with as well, because he plays the role very well.
Yeah, I think so. He seems like, yeah, I definitely noticed that he was in the Sam story helping with the kids, and then with Mary and Bridget. So that was neat to see that connection.
Yeah, I think like when it comes to the women interacting, it was when they were never going to be meeting each other or speaking to each other at any stage. I think there might have been a scene I wrote where they were sitting in a doctor's office, a doctor's waiting room. But again, that it didn't work. That was something I jettisoned, because you don't want them interacting. They're all from different walks of life, so you want to show that it's affecting people from every walk of life, whether you have money, whether you have family, whether you don't have money. This wants to get a hold of you, it gets a hold of you, and that's it.
I'm just gonna look at my questions here because this one is a more wordy one, but it was just kind of a funny coincidence that I found while I was watching, because I take notes as I'm watching the films and I'm writing down my questions. And there's a point where in the Mary and Bridget story where Bridget is kind of just talking about nuns, and then the two housekeepers, I think, ask Mary like, oh, what she's talking about nuns about. And I write down on my questions like to ask, because it's one of my favorite Irish films, The Magdalene Sisters, if you'd watched that. So I thought it was pretty interesting that Mary then goes to say that Bridget used to be at the Magdalene house.
So you've seen The Magdalene Sisters?
Yeah, so I actually saw it in high school, and it's been one of my favorites.
So the girl who plays Sam is in The Magdalene Sisters.
I forgot. I did not
She's
recognize
the.
her.
Do you remember the scene where the girl is getting a haircut who runs away?
Yes.
That's Mary Murray, who plays the kid's mum.
Ah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I did
So
not connect it.
Mary Murray is one of Ireland's finest actors. I mean, she has been in everything and been nominated and for everything. We were so lucky to get her for the film. But yeah, I have seen the Magdalene Sisters many times. It's an absolute another work of art. I think the performances by everyone in it are brilliant. Nora Jean Noon, Mary Murray. So yeah, sorry, but was that your question? Had I seen the Magdalene Sisters?
So that was part of the question, but also like what inspired you to bring the aspect of the Magdalene homes into the film and to add that into Bridget's character?
Again, that's another subject that constantly gets brushed under the carpet here, and that has been rearing its ugly head in Ireland recently, with the Tuam baby scandal. I don't know if you've heard of that. TUAM.
It sounds familiar. I had seen that. Was that the basis of Philomena, or maybe but it might have been mentioned in Philomena?
I don't know if Tuam was mentioned in Philomena because that's only been recently, but Philomena would be again another film that I think is brilliant. Ireland has a real shady past with the mother and babies homes, and the more people look into it, the more they realise how disgraceful and disgusting that dirty little bit of history is. Recently, there was an area down in Galway called Tuam, or if you read it, you would pronounce it Tuam because it's Tuam, but it's an Irish word. It says Tuam, where they found a couple of hundred dead babies thrown into a septic tank that were attached to a mother and baby home. And why it hasn't made worldwide news is beyond me. I mean, you can even see my face going red here thinking about it. So a lot of that went on in Ireland, where the kids were just taken away and sent off to places in America. Where I imagine American families didn't know about this either. And you will find that if you look into it, a lot of American people have start tracing their heritages back to the mother and baby homes in Ireland, where single mothers were brought in, the babies were taken off them and sent to America, or left into a room to die, or sent off somewhere else, where they maybe to England or something. This was something we did want to address. There was a brilliant documentary made recently by a girl called Teresa Lavina, called Untold Stories, I think, recently, and have a look at what's happening with that. They can't get that shown anywhere in Ireland,
Just because of the content, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Okay. I had some questions about just the technical aspects of the film, if we don't mind getting into that a bit. I'd just love to learn why you wanted to shoot this in black and white.
Because some of my favorite films, some of the best films ever made, are black and white. A Streetcar Named Desire, On the Waterfront. Again, Raging Bull, the another one. Some of the greatest films ever made, and cinema started out in black and white. Do you know what I mean? Chaplin, and Buster Keaton, and the Stooges, John Wayne, and some of the greatest filmmakers shot in black and white. So I wanted my film to have that kind of old aesthetic to it. And not only that, I mean, like some of my favorite directors, some of the great Italian directors, Fellini, would always shoot in black and white. I mean, if you ever watched La Strada is a difficult film to watch. 8.5 is gorgeous. The Dolce Vita, Dolce Vita is really haunting to watch. It's beautiful, but it's uncomfortable because of the aesthetic of the film, and that's really what I wanted with the black and white. It also adds a whole layer of gravitas as well. It makes things a little bit more dramatic and darker, So I really felt like black and white was just the way to go with the film.
Okay.
Of course, then it's bookended, so
Sure. And I love the kind of like splashes of color throughout the film, like almost in the in the bookends, like you say, and then in like almost where there's like dream sequences or moments of hope, it seems to be in color, right?
Yeah. So I mean, with the ending, the reveal at the ending was again kind of the Wizard of Oz. If you remember the opening, when Dorothy walks in, the whole set was painted sepia. So she walks in and opens the door, and it's the just color just hits you, which is what I wanted. I wanted that final moment to just punch, so that when you do see exactly the finale, I wanted people to kind of catch their breath when it eventually, and because it keeps building to a crescendo,
Mm-hmm.
And the meaning behind it is this is how these women see themselves, this is how they've seen themselves in their final moments, but they'll never get to realize that because it's been taken away from them. So in Cleana's mind, she sees herself as this beautiful porcelain doll in the bath. Sam sees herself as this homely, beautiful angel with her 4 other angels lying in bed together, and with Mary and Bridget, they finally get to just spend some time together as mum and daughter, But that's in their mind. We know that this isn't the reality of it. It's been taken from them, that they'll never have those moments.
Mm-hmm. Going back to like just the ending of the film, is there anything that inspired those kind of tableaus? Because they almost look like paintings.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly it. Some of the shots are based on some very famous paintings by Edgar Degas or Jacques Louis David. I don't want to give too many of them away. I'm going to let people discover that for themselves. But the obvious one would be the death of Ophelia, or as people know it as the Lady in the Water, which is of course with Sarah Carroll.
Sure.
But there's many shots throughout the film are based on famous paintings. But like that, it's up to people to figure it out for themselves and peel the onion. So
leave that for the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Okay. With Kleina's character, she kind of has this obsession with bathtubs, and that seems to be her escape. So is that kind of what that was building up for?
A little bit. It was the bathtub was actually, the whole emphasis on the bathtub. Like what we needed was a ritual for the character, because someone like people with that kind of who would have mild autism and stuff like that, everything is from what I understand is based on ritual, and routine. Originally, I'd written Sarah Kleina as someone who was a bit of a fitness fanatic, that ran, worked out, and then proceeded to go and bathe and stuff like that. But as we got into filming more, as I was shooting the bath scenes and watching Sarah just going about her routine and how she would do it, I was like, okay, we don't need any of the workout stuff. So we got rid of it. Now the workout stuff was only small things, like working out at home, but it was never going to work. So I was having problems. So I just jettisoned it. I just got rid of it. Like I knew because I knew the shots I wanted of her when she was in the bath. There's one shot I did share online, which was a homage to Thunderball, where Sean Connery hands the slippers to God, her name has gone completely on my head, in the bath. Which is there's a scene similar to that where Sarah reaches over to grab her slippers and changes her mind and spends more time. But there's many shots of Sarah in the bath that are, again, love letters to some of my favorite films, But it kind of gave me, as a filmmaker and the director, gave me the freedom to kind of hold the shot and take your time. And I didn't need it. I knew when I wrote it about the working out thing that there was no need for it. So I just got rid of it, and I wanted just to show how this woman enjoys peace, so to speak. And she goes through a routine to have her bit of peace, just sitting down in the bath.
Okay, cool. Now I like it. I love it a lot. Now you're also the cinematographer for the film, so I just be curious if you had like an average shot list and just what that would look like each day.
No, I knew. Like the shot list for me was what the constructed script was going to be. So I knew what I was looking for on a daily basis. Nobody else did. I remember one of the wardrobe was like, "What are we doing next?" And I'm like, "Okay, so the next thing is this because that ties into last day, and when we get this shot now next, that goes into what we done 2 weeks ago." And they were like, "Okay, just tell us what she has to wear." And like, she has to wear the this house coat, that towel on her head, And again, shooting in black and white kind of helps a lot with that, because you don't have to. You can have two towels that look the same but they're different colors, but on camera they look white. So that's another thing shooting in black and white helped us a lot with was toned down. You didn't have to. You had to worry about continuity, but you could get away with a good bit because we knew the film was black and white.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, but in my mind, I knew exactly what I was going to be shooting on the day. Some people had to catch up a little bit, but I knew it was in my head, so that's kind of what mattered, And the actors would know, and you would tell the actors, "Look, here's what I'm going to be doing next." They'd be like, "Yep, I know. It's in my mind." You would give them the freedom to go about doing it.
Okay. Was there anything you were really excited to shoot?
I was, as far as it's excited is the wrong word. I mean, I was excited about working with the four women, very
Sure.
excited because Kathleen Yates, who plays Mary, and then Anne Russell, who plays Bridget. They play the mum and daughter. Um, the elderly mum, Alzheimer's. Sorry. So Kathleen was my acting coach many years ago, and
Cool.
she was somebody who I really wanted to work with as a director. And I'd never really hear about Kathleen being the lead in this new television show, but she was always on something. She was always doing something, whether it was a theater, whether it was something in America. I think she did Little Women, and there was always something going on. And I'm like, I need to work with her, and I need to work on my next film. So I was always excited about that. Kathleen introduced me then to Anne Russell, because we needed someone to play Kathleen's mum.
Sure.
And I mean, I don't know any, I didn't know any women of that age, who I'd worked with. So Kathleen suggested Anne Russell, and then when I met with Anne, Anne again was a little bit hesitant. And she said, "Look, let me look into it. Let me kind of research it a bit." And he came back and said, "Yeah, look, I'm on board." So to work with them too, at first, I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe we're two of Ireland's best actors," And then, of course, then I had Sarah, who I love working with. And then when we were trying to find someone to play the role of Sam, it was one of the producers, Robbie Kane, said, "I take acting classes with Mary Murray." And I said, "Yeah, okay." And he said, "Would you think she would be good to play the role of Sam, the single mum?" And I said, "Robbie, I don't think we could get Mary Murray. She's one of Ireland's most renowned actors." And he went, "I'll give her a call." And I said, "Well, give her a call and give her my number, or vice versa." And I gave her a call, and she said, "Can you send me over what you have and what you have in mind?" I did that, and I sent her over my previous work, and then she gave me a call and said, "Yeah, I'm on board." So I was like, "Oh, I can't believe we have this dream cast." And then we were lucky. Then we got Paul Ward, who was a very well-known director here in Ireland. And we got John Connors, when John was like, John was like, "They're on board, I'm on board." They let me know. He said, "I'm definitely, yeah." He goes, "I get to work with these guys as well." I'm like, "Yeah." We had Davy Gilnick, Chris Newman, Philly McCrory. Everyone just came on board then. So to get the four women that we got, I was very, 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 very lucky. So that was exciting. The excitement of getting to work with such well-established, well-versed, and well-trained actors. So that was the excitement of it.
Okay.
Just watching them work is a director's dream.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, was Mary Morey teaching the acting class, or I'm just wondering if she would need acting classes?
No, she was teaching. Yeah, Mary
Okay.
Mary teaches, Kathleen teaches as well. So you have Mary and Kathleen run their own schools in Ireland here as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
No. Now, I think that was it for my questions, and I know I've taken enough of your time. So I just have to ask if you could plug where people could find the film, where they can watch the letters.
Yeah, we just got nominated for, I think, some awards in Chicago, the Blow Up Art House Film Festival. I think it's going to be shown there for a week now soon. It will be shown in Pasadena as part of the Angelic Film Festival.
Okay.
And then it will be available on demand in the new year, maybe February. So it could be Amazon Prime or Netflix or somewhere, please. Yeah.
Fingers
And
crossed.
yeah, but then we have it will be at some more film festivals and screenings that I can't exactly talk about right now, but
Okay.
I'll definitely be tagging you and letting you know exactly where. But yeah, for the moment, it will be. It literally finishes its run in cinemas tonight in Ireland. So
Uh,
you know,
okay.
it had its final screening. Like, it began an hour ago.
Missed it by a bit.
Yeah, we just missed it.
Okay.
No, it will get out there. I've no doubt in my mind it will get out there more and more. You know,
Okay. Do you guys have a website?
you can get the Letters Facebook page, or you can just kind of follow me on Twitter or Instagram or something, like, and you'll find all info there.
Okay, I'll plug the links down below then. Cool. So Robbie Walsh, who writes, directs, acts in, produces, does the cinematography for the Letters. You have a lot of roles, but I'd like to thank you for coming on the Film Craziest Show and chatting with me about your film.
Really, really glad you brought me on, and I'm glad you liked the movie, and look forward to talking to you again.